Alright, so this is Linux Mint 20, and give me a minute. This is a fresh install I just did. So, hang on, I gotta sit on my nose, by the way, so in case you're wondering what that red spot is on my nose at. This is it, that is healing. So, I had originally bought an SSD for my Xbox 360, thinking, oh, well, it's got a hard drive thing in it. I can just shove anything in, and it should flash whatever proprietary bullshit is on there. That's not the case, apparently, with Microsoft. I should have done more homework, because apparently now I have to go spend $70 fucking dollars, which is more money than that SSD cost, on a proprietary hard drive with proprietary bullshit. I could do the hard drive hacker thing for cheaper, but there's a bunch of shit I have to do on top of that. I'm just not fucking doing that. And this is why we should all fucking hate Microsoft. Because they do stupid shit like that, where you have to fucking do that. And use their hard drive instead of, with PlayStation where you can just shove anything and it works. So why am I bringing that up again? I think I made a comment about that. Well, it's because Amazon told me it's most probably lost in the mail, and I should get a replacement. The replacement showed up in 2 days. 10 days after it was supposed to be delivered, the original one just showed up. So I'm probably going to have to pay $55 I don't have now for that one because UPS fucked up. Now, originally I wasn't going to open the package, but for some reason Amazon decides, yeah, we don't care if this is fragile, like a DVD case or an SSD, or if it's expensive, like an SSD. We're going to put it in that flimsy fucking bubble envelope that you can crumple up with in your hand. So I didn't know if it's broken or not, and what made me think it was it looked like it had been run over by the fucking UPS truck through a puddle of fucking motor oil. There's about 10 different fucking labels on it with my address, so your guess is as good as mine how the fuck you needed 10 fucking labels. Apparently it got really lost. UPS is a fucking joke, don't use them. So, anyways, this is Linux Mint 20 now, and what I really like about it is it's just much more polished. Go ahead. Bluetooth on Linux, as you can see, it's still a pain in my ass. It takes a few times before it connects. But this is this is just a default, by the way. Before I used to always get rid of the default, looked like shit, and it was just like this ugly font for Bluetooth. Didn't need to be there. So this is much more polished. This time around, instead of using X sensors, I switched to P sensors, and I kind of like having the ability to do this and check all my temperatures of my hard drive, or SSD in this case, and all this shit. It's a very nice program, and I can quit anytime I want with that. Overall, Linux Mint 20 is just much more polished. Of course, I still use the Sin 7 Stark menu and all this shit. Where I am going to give shit to, and this isn't Linux Mint's fault, it's more some of the programs I use fault, and I have emailed them. B1 Free Archiver is an archiver I use frequently. It isn't installable yet, because it doesn't support the latest version of Ubuntu yet. This is why I usually wait a month, or 2, or even 3. I broke that rule this time because I really wanted to update, because it just looked more polished, and I wanted to review it. The other thing I wasn't able to install, and this is kind of Linux Mint's fault, I'm not sure. App images never really worked well on Linux Mint, and I've had problems with them In particular, Belina Etcher and Tutanota's email app. I don't know why anyone uses fucking Electron apps or fucking app images anymore. They don't work properly. They never integrate into the system properly. I've had nothing but fucking issues with them. I would much rather, if you're going to do a universal distro package, to just use fucking Flatpak. App image is fucking terrible, and I have messaged them on Twitter about that because I fucking hate that they do that. Because now when I have to launch a program, I have to dig through my file manager, and it's just a pain in my ass, to go to your OPT folder and launch a fucking app that way, because you can't fucking install it properly. And that's just why I don't like using app images in the first place, but unfortunately, Belina Etcher is a very good program. And this is one of the kind of downfalls of Linux, is there's too many ways to install a package, and a lot of times these companies, and Tutanota is my favorite email service, but in my opinion, no one should be using an app image or an Electron app, because they do just completely fucking suck. They don't install the way anything else does. The way they install is, or supposed to install, is you go into the permissions, you hit the thing that says allow executable as program, and you click it, and the first time you click it, it should integrate into your system and give you the option. Well, Belina Etcher didn't do that this time. Tutanota did, but didn't do it, so then I tried to uninstall it, but apparently it installs something in my system, so now every time I install the fucking app, it just defaults to the previous settings. I don't know what the fuck to do. I'm just not going to fucking deal with it. I would much rather people use Flatpaks. The proprietary Snap Store, I don't use at all. Ubuntu can go fuck itself with that shit. I'm very happy to use Flatpaks. They're much better, in my opinion. My biggest problem with snaps is, and I know this probably isn't a problem with newer computers, but on an older piece of shit like the Studio 1557, and even some even older laptops than this piece of shit laptop, snaps take like 5 minutes to fucking open, and they aren't uniformed in respecting your theme. It just has its own fucking theme, and it just becomes this broken, garbled mess of a fucking thing, and I really don't like using them. And the fact that they're proprietary and owned by Ubuntu is kind of weird. I think Ubuntu is kind of like the Microsoft of the Linux space, honestly. And one of the reasons why I've never really liked using Ubuntu in the past is because of a lot of the shit they've done in the past is just fucking terrible. So I'm going through the process of just signing into everything now. I've got all the apps, well, almost all of them, installed. I have noticed it is faster on an SSD. Unfortunately, this is a 480 gig SSD, so I literally downgraded from a terabyte to a little under half of a terabyte. But it's still more than enough for now. But I don't really have the money, and I figured if I'm going to be forced to fucking pay for this SSD that I didn't fucking need in the first place because UPS fucked up, might as well use it. But overall, yeah, everything on an SSD just launches faster. And I know that's not news, but you gotta remember, like, I don't upgrade my hardware like a lot of these people on fucking YouTube do. Like, this computer's fucking 10 years old. Still works, I don't care. I can get work done on it. I didn't buy my first SSD until I fixed that PS3. Before that, SSDs has been around for a while, and I still haven't fucking done it. This laptop has DDR3 RAM. I probably won't upgrade. I'll probably skip DDR4 altogether. And I feel like that's a better way to upgrade, is to skip one generation at least, or like half a generation. Because I feel like when you do that, it's a bigger update. It's not like it was when I was in high school, where like every other fucking week, it's like, oh, that thing I just spent $800 on. Well, now it's useless. The updates aren't like that anymore, thankfully. It's not that severe. But, don't you love it when you install an album and it's like, we don't know who the fuck this is, even though you put in the fucking thing. By the way, what's even worse is I bought this. This was part of the Injustice bullshit that I bought. But, works fine. So Bluetooth works, it just takes a few clicks. These are something I bought off Amazon. They're Dylan headphones. These are metal. They're pretty sturdy construction. I can toss them around and shit. They also work wired, but the wired isn't as loud as Bluetooth, which is a common thing. Those also have aptX and a few other fucking things. So Bluetooth works, everything works. I did upgrade sudo to the latest version, as I always do, and I updated my kernel. Uku no longer works. It's become proprietary closed source software, so I don't recommend it. What you're going to have to do is create a folder in your downloads called kernel, and actually an instruction guide. Right here. So this is this one, so you're going to want to navigate over to this website here. Basically, you go to the Ubuntu kernel PPA page here, kernel.ubuntu.com. And you're going to need to download 4 files. It says 3 here, but you're going to need to download 4, and I'll go through that in a second. And then you're going to put those 4, you're going to save them into a folder called kernel, hit cd download /kernel, run this command, and it'll install the kernel. So if we go back to this page here, I'll show you which ones I downloaded. So go all the way down. This is the latest stable version. Always check on this website here. Kernel.org. It'll tell you what the latest stable is. So the latest stable right now is 5.7.6. So as you can see, I installed this first one, Linux headers, and then the third one that says all in it. And then you want to go to this one that says image unsigned, and then modules. Put those 4 into a folder called kernel in your downloads, cd downloads -kernel, run that command, and the kernel will install just fine. That's how I did it, and it worked perfectly, and that is why I'm running the latest kernel. One of the benefits of running the latest kernel is you get a lot of benefits that come out in the newer kernels. PIA, for example, uses WireGuard now, and I think that started in 5.7. A lot of updates to things like Bluetooth and Wi-Fi out in the kernel. So every other month, what I do is I upgrade to the latest stable kernel, and I upgrade to the latest version of sudo. And there was an incident a while back where Linux Mint had to upgrade the version of sudo on everyone because there was a security flaw in it, and I didn't have to worry about that because I was already well past that version that was flawed and had a security risk. So it's always good to keep up to date on things. The other thing I like to do is uninstall a lot of shit that comes installed, like the Office, and I install the Flatpak version because it's just a more up-to-date version. I also uninstalled TimeShift and Time whatever and Redshift. Those shit doesn't need to be installed. So this is Linux Mint 20. It doesn't look that much different really. These icons are a little bit bigger now, even though I have it set to the same size as that. But it's just much more polished, and not much has really changed. But some applications still don't install right because they're fucking app images. And some don't at all because, like, B1 Free Archiver hasn't updated its fucking shit yet. It's sad to see you can't use the free version of Uku anymore. It was a really good program. I don't quite agree with the developer. You know, he's like, well, I wasn't making money off of it, and I'm not going to put my time into it if I'm not making money. I feel like that's the wrong attitude to have in the open source community, and I feel like Ubuntu really does influence that with shit like Snap, where, you know, if you're going to make software, a lot of people do, and they do it as a hobby, not necessarily to make money. If a donation comes along, that's great. And I feel like those people really do make the community better. People like the idiot, and I'm calling him an idiot because of the shit he just pulled, who made Uku, who made something very good for the community, but decided it wasn't worth his time unless he was making money. I don't really agree with that mindset. I feel like this should be not only your desktop, but like Linux is a community. And I feel like if you're going to make software or help with development by like finding bugs and shit, you really shouldn't ask for something back. Like, it's great if you want to ask for donations, but don't turn around and say, well, I'm not making enough money, so I'm just going to make this proprietary closed source garbage now. Where you're doing something where you're updating the kernel, and the problem I see now is that it's closed source. If something goes wrong, we can't go through the code and verify it anymore. And so I can't really trust it to update my kernel if I can't verify the program. I honestly don't have a problem with closed source software. I understand why some things have to. But either start open source or start closed source. Don't have the mindset of, I'm going to make something that benefits everybody, and now I'm not making enough money, so fuck it, I'm making it closed source proprietary garbage. So don't use Uku. Use the way I just told you, where you download the files and put it in a folder called kernel and update it that way. It's much easier. And that's pretty much all there is about Linux Mint 20. It's a great operating system. Real quick, I'm going to touch up to date on Apple. So, I made a video a while back now, actually. Eight months ago, called Intel is Garbage. And I stand by that statement, because Intel, to this day that I know of, still has a fuck ton of security flaws that, despite what they might want you to think, don't exist on AMD. AMD might have like one, but I think they fixed it. They don't have nearly the amount of security issues that Intel does. The other problem Intel is they've been on 14 nanometer for too fucking long. I think they're moving to 10 now, but it's just like they don't have the ingenuity they used to, and it's really fucking pathetic. Um, eh, because they want you to like keep using the same shit, and there's almost no reason to. It's not like AMD where there's a meaningful upgrade, uh, and it's to the point where, like, yeah, you might get a slight bump in performance in gaming, but like I would recommend against using it even if that is the case, simply because of all the security flaws that could be used to take over your computer. And because most people use Windows, which is just full of keyloggers, malware, and fucking adware, and all sorts of fucking bullshit malware and viruses, I would totally advise against using Intel at all. Um, Now, there were rumors that AMD might go to ARM, their own silicon, or AMD. Um, I was hoping they would go to AMD, because that would give AMD a much needed press. Because, as I've discussed before, it really seems like Intel is paying off everyone to push more of their shit and try to get a one up on AMD, because they're losing and they fucking know it. So cheating seems to be the only way they can win at this point. My back's killing me. Excuse me. So turns out Apple is going to use their own ARM chips. Apple Silicon, as they're calling it. Now, I have Apple TV. It's the HD version. When I went to buy it, I said the 4th gen. The 4th gen was the HD version. I said HD just to make it clear. It's unclear when you go online and try to find it. They refer to the 4K one as the 5th gen, apparently. I don't fucking know. And I specifically said the full HD version. At least twice. And she brought out the 4K, and I said, no, I want the HD one. And the reason why I wanted the HD one over the 4K one is, one, I didn't have a 4K TV at the time. I do now, but that's beside the point. 4K is kind of a bullshit standard now. A lot of the shit that's in 4K wasn't shot in 4K. It's fucking upscaled, which, if that's the case, I might as well just fucking buy the HD one and upscale it myself. Or it's old shit that was shot on VHS and has been upscaled. Very few things are actually filmed in 4K because of the price. There are some movies where it's like, why the fuck did you even bother? Like Spider-Man Far From Home, I think it was, where it was filmed in 4K, but the special effects were half the resolution, so you're better off just rendering the entire fucking thing at 1080p. Shit like that. HDR is just complete bullshit. There's like 4 different versions of the color gamut. One of which you would need a, I think, 10,000 nit brightness 12-bit panel to get the full effect of HDR. So SDR can outperform HDR completely in that sense of the word, and 12-bit panels don't exist. So the best you're going to be able to do is a micro LED television that isn't even on the fucking market yet, and probably won't be. And then there's like 15 different standards of HDR. There's HDR 10, 10 plus, HLG, Dolby Vision, which Dolby Vision is a 12-bit technology, so 12-bit panels don't exist. You're taking 2 bits off, and that might not sound like a lot, but it is. It's enough to affect the picture. So HDR is complete bullshit. 4K is nice and can give you some effects. Linus Tech Tips, for example, uses Red 8K cameras. A few YouTubers do, and even in 1080p, the noticeable difference in picture is great. So, I'm not saying there isn't a benefit to that, but it is expensive to film at these resolutions, and Hollywood just a lot of times isn't going to be willing to, so most of the shit is on YouTube. And Apple 4K can't do 4K YouTube. So why the fuck even bother buying an Apple 4K? But that's the only Apple product I own. Because that is the only product I've seen that managed to get the hardware engineering right. All their phones that I've seen have some flaw or another, like the iPhone 6 bending from being in your pocket. I've used Apple laptops that someone let me use, and they overheat and just fucking crash worse than this 10-year-old laptop does. Uh, their engineering, it's always seemed to me like they just don't give a fuck. They're trying to make it as thin as pretty as possible, and it just ends up being a piece of shit. And if you watch Louis Rossmann fix these things, you'd know, yeah, their machines are a piece of shit. Their engineering is crap. And you can't even take it apart and fix it yourself anymore. Like this studio, you have to go to someone special like Louis Rossmann. So it doesn't surprise me that they would, instead of going AMD, go to ARM and do their own silicon because they want to control the product even after it's sold. Apple is one of the companies that is fighting for you not to be able to fix your own shit. And these companies need to fuck off with that, really, because if I buy something, it is my property, I should be allowed to fix it. But we are getting to the case where these companies are fighting to not let you fix your own shit. And if you do, it's a violation of warranty or some bullshit. And it's really arbitrary and stupid. So I would advise not going with anything made by Apple, with the exception of the TV box, because it's the only thing worth fucking buying. But I'm kind of having second thoughts about recommending this, because the latest update, not the 14, the 13, turned on some bullshit called dynamic mode, and dynamic mode breaks my theme, and I can't turn it off, and I fucking hate it. In order to install apps, you have to subscribe to Apple Music on your Android phone, and if you use Lineage OS, that means you have to do some circle fucking tricks to even get the fucking thing installed on your phone and hope it works without Google Play. So I think that's fucking stupid. That your fucking original... You can cancel it after, which is what I did. I don't fucking use that anymore. I have Napster and I have Spotify. I'm not fucking paying for Apple's bullshit, too. Plus, Spotify and Napster are better. But, like, it's little things like that that make me want to move away from the Apple TV altogether. But what is making me stay is, it is to this day the best TV streaming thing I've ever bought. And yeah, it cost $150 fucking dollars, but hey, what the fuck. And HBO Max, when it launched, it was available on Apple TV. Not available on Roku, not available on Fire Stick. So, I'm kind of glad I have the Apple TV, but Jesus fucking Christ, Apple really does fucking suck. And I hate them. I hate them as a company. I think as a company, they're just making worthless pieces of shit that no one should buy. And the only reason why people do is because it's a status symbol. And if you need a $1,200 overpriced piece of shit laptop to say, hey, look how important I am, you're fucking pathetic in my opinion. If you buy it because you like tech and you want to fucking try it out, like someone like Snazzy Labs, I can understand that. But if you're one of those people where your entire identity is, hey, look how much money I can fucking throw around, you kind of fucking suck. And you're probably a piece of shit. Granted, I'm kind of a piece of shit myself, but I'm not the type of piece of shit who wears like a $50 t-shirt and fucking like, check out my laptop. I honestly couldn't give a shit how other people think about me. And unfortunately, in this generation, that's unfortunately not a very popular thing. And that's why Apple is worth $1 trillion. So I'm going to end this video now, but that is my take on Linux Mint and Apple. I hope Apple the best, but I'm going to look forward to seeing how many problems these things have and how hard it is to fix them. Alright, I'll see you guys in the next video.